In my family growing up, shame-based confrontation was the name of the game. It's no surprise, therefore, that nothing ever got resolved. Even those who tried to lovingly confront people about issues that were affecting them would end up in a vicious, mudslinging fight. Unfortunately, substance use issues, personality disorders, and other mental health problems go back generations in my family. So if there was a healthy model for conflict or difficult conversations, it was long gone in the past. Having done my own healing, particularly from trauma, I know now how important emotional safety is to navigating these kind of encounters. In my own family, no one could change or evolve because the emotional safety necessary to do so was never there. For my own healing, I had to create significant boundaries between myself and my family because there was no other way I could create the emotional safety I needed to heal. Having to do that is heartbreaking. And in my work, I support families with strategies for creating more emotional safety in their relationship with their loved one so they can have the kind of positive influence on their loved one that will support them in making positive changes. For this episode of Hope for Families TV, I'm therefore going to talk about 3 of the most promising evidence-based treatment approaches to substance abuse. And I want to highlight these 3 approaches precisely because they model tools that family members can also adopt to create the emotional safety needed to have a positive influence. And also because sadly, these methods are not commonly used in actual treatment programs, and they need to be. And I want to talk about these approaches because I can't tell you how many times I've had families tell me how they got their loved one to go through treatment and then they relapsed like the day after they got out. Now, there are multiple contributors to relapse, but I have no doubt that one of the reasons these methods have the evidence behind them that they do is because they build emotional safety. Other things that make these approaches so powerful is that they're both customizable and they address motivation to change using evidence-based practices. And most importantly to my work, they outline methods family members can also use to have a positive influence on their loved one's drug or alcohol use. So these 3 approaches are 1, cognitive behavioral therapy, 2, motivational interviewing, and 3, contingency management. Now I'm going to go through what each of these approaches are right now. So we'll start with cognitive behavioral therapy. This is often referred to as CBT, and it operates on the premise that our thoughts, feelings, and behaviors are interconnected. It acknowledges that substance abuse is often a coping mechanism. By identifying and challenging negative thought patterns and beliefs associated with substance use, aka the drivers of the use, individuals can develop healthier coping mechanisms and responses to those triggers. So CBT equips individuals with practical skills to manage cravings, deal with stressors, and therefore prevent relapse so they gain greater control over their behaviors and consciously choose healthier responses to the things that trigger them. So that's cognitive behavioral therapy. The second approach, motivational interviewing, is a collaborative, person-centered approach that explores an individual's ambivalence toward change, which everyone who's struggling with a substance use disorder has. It uses a strategic questioning and reflective listening technique to elicit what they call change talk. And these are statements that reflect an individual's desire, ability, reasons, and need for change. By amplifying and reinforcing that change talk, therapists help these individuals strengthen their intrinsic motivation and commitment to recovery, and that's so important. By fostering empathy, acceptance, and evoking that intrinsic motivation, motivational interviewing empowers these individuals to explore their values, their goals, and their reasons for change. Through this reflective listening and guided questioning, motivational interviewing's collaborative and, really importantly, non-confrontational approach helps these individuals resolve their uncertainties and strengthen their commitment to recovery and positive change by fostering, again, that intrinsic motivation and by respecting the individual's autonomy and their own agency. So that's motivational interviewing. Finally, Contingency management leverages the principles of behavioral psychology to promote positive change through reinforcement-based strategies. It operates on the principles of positive reinforcement, offering tangible rewards or incentives to reinforce desired behaviors, such as abstinence or participation in treatment. So contingency management allows you to customize and individualize reward systems based on the unique needs, preferences, and circumstances of each individual. By providing immediate and tangible rewards, contingency management helps individuals stay motivated and engaged with their own recovery journey. So whether that's through vouchers, privileges, or other incentives, contingency management offers an effective way to encourage and sustain positive changes. So those are the 3 evidence-based approaches that show a ton of promise. All 3 of these approaches have been proven effective in motivating people abusing substances to either fully abstain, moderate, or make changes that lessen the negative impacts of the use. But they're rarely used in treatment settings. People with substance abuse issues typically have to work with an individual therapist to access any of these therapies. Which begs the question, why is this? And it's because the treatment industry is largely either completely unregulated or poorly regulated, which means there is no medical board mandating the use of evidence-based approaches like there is in other areas of medicine. And given that these approaches are highly individualized and do require significant one-on-one contact with a trained therapist in these modalities, the very thing that makes them so much more effective, for-profit and even nonprofit treatment centers have neither the regulatory nor the financial incentive to implement them. Most of them are continuing to use non-evidence-based programs dating back at least 50 years. These programs are rarely individualized despite what the treatment centers claim, and they rely almost exclusively on group therapy and other group programming. And I think it's really important that families understand these evidence-based methods out there so they can better understand what they are and aren't getting for their treatment dollars and start both demanding more evidence-based options from treatment centers and better regulation and higher standards of care in the treatment industry. So I'd love to hear what your experience was of the treatment industry. Feel free to share your story in the comments. I promise I will respond. Thanks again for watching. I'll see you in the next episode of Hope for Families TV.